Okay, we are live, everyone, as you're tuning in. LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're tuning in from. Thanks for joining us on this afternoon. My name is Kevin Daisy. I'm your host, and this is another live recording of the Managing Partners podcast. I'm also the founder of Array Digital, where we help law firms fill their pipeline using digital marketing. Today, my guest, Andrew Skyer. How's it going?
Hey, good afternoon, Kevin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Great chatting with you backstage. Thanks for coming on the show today to share your story. And I'm excited because some of the things you mentioned with the solo practitioner and how you can really, I think, give a lot of tips to those folks that are looking to start their own practice. But before we get into that, tell me your story, your journey to getting where you are today. You've been doing this for quite a while. You're very successful. So tell me, how did you get into this?
I often say that if you had told me 30 years ago when I started law school that I would be A, living in Montgomery, Alabama, and B, practicing criminal law, I would have said you're crazy on both counts. But it's great. It's funny how life happens. I took a class in law school that led me to a career at the beginning of my career being a prosecutor. And there was a job opening in the Montgomery County DA's office, and it was a place that I stayed for 3.5 years. Had a great experience as a prosecutor. But after 3.5 years, I was a little burned out on that and decided to try out my luck hanging my own shingle. And about 6 months after I decided to do that, we found out that my wife was pregnant with our first child. He's now 22 years old. So all's well that ends well. But it's been an interesting journey. It's been there have been harrowing times. There have been very exciting times. There have been times of great personal and professional satisfaction. And there have been also times of great frustration, which is, I think, what you have to be prepared for if you're going to go into A, criminal practice, and B, a solo criminal practice.
Yeah, I bet. And I think so it sounds like you had 2 kids in the same year almost, right? So the business.
They're 18 months apart. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So your first child was the business. That's funny. Yeah. And
we used to bring him down here in the little, in the little chair, and he'd sit in the office, and, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into?
Yeah. Well, on both accounts, right? So
absolutely.
Anyone tuning in, watching as we're live, if you got any comments, say hi. We'll answer your questions as well. But so a little bit of what you said, and starting your own business. So hanging your own shingle, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, I think. But most attorneys out there are, if you're in law school, listen to this. They don't teach you how to run a business, and so and I've talked to a bunch of managing partners where they're like, they didn't even identify themselves as actually owning a company. They just went on their own, and it took them a while to realize that, oh yeah, actually I run my own firm. And so it's almost like they weren't aware, but there's a lot of challenges with it. So
for a while I was even resistant to that idea. I tried to tell myself I wasn't a salesperson and I wasn't, trying to sell a product, but I was wrong about that. That's what we do. It's part of the job is selling yourself and setting yourself apart from other lawyers that might be in the same area as you.
Really good point there. And whether you like Grant Cardone or not, he's got a book. I think it's Sell or Be Sold. But everyone's a salesperson in life. You're selling. So whether or not you're convincing your child to go to bed, or your wife to go out with you, or a customer, client, whatever, but you're trying to get an outcome of some sort. So it is selling, closing in one way or another. So. And the whole book is sell or be sold, meaning if you don't sell or close the deal, the other person's closing you. Meaning if your son is like cries forever and is like, okay, fine, you can just stay up, you were sold.
Yep.
So sales is a part of this business no matter what.
Don't think you're above it. Don't think you're above it because you're in it.
Yeah, I love it. So just speaking of, I want to make sure people get your website address. SkyerLaw.com, and this is the phone number. Anyone in his area, another attorney, a lawyer, a referral partner, if you will, I'm sure he'd be happy to connect with you. You can check out his website. I'll put that in the comments as well, so folks can go have a
I'll
look.
say this. One of the more satisfying things about being I guess an older lawyer now is that people call me for advice, and I'm happy to help younger lawyers or people that are starting out with their own practices, or even folks that have been around for a while. I'm happy to, share my thoughts.
Excellent. So, next question, I guess, really is, over the years, starting on your own, what's really worked for you as far as getting your name out there and attracting potential clients?
There is absolutely no substitute for word of mouth. If you have a good reputation among other lawyers, among other people in the community, among clients that you've serviced in the past, that is going to serve you better than anything else, because a client that comes to you because of a personal referral already thinks you're great and already has a positive impression of you, and you don't need to sell yourself as much to those clients, and you've already sort of gained their trust. But very few lawyers can live on referrals alone or reputation alone. It's hard to live without it, but it's hard to live solely with it. So what I've discovered over the years is you need to find yourself a way to set yourself apart from the other people that are in your market. When I started out, this was in the Stone Ages, before Google was a thing and before everybody had cell phones. But the big advertising thing was the Yellow Pages. And every year the Yellow Pages rep would come and talk to you, and he'd say, "Oh, by the way, we're going up, this many $100 a month this year," and you didn't have a choice; you just paid it. But what I figured out was what set me apart was I put a picture of myself, and underneath it said former Montgomery County prosecutor. And a lot of people used to call me, and they would tell me the reason that they called me was because of that, because I differentiated myself. I set myself apart from all the other people that were in the same section. So that's important. And I would say, being active in the community is important too. If you whatever you feel strongly about, whatever cause you believe in, get involved. Get your name out there. It doesn't cost anything except your time. It's satisfying personally, and you'd be amazed how many clients you will receive, and how much goodwill in the community you'll get back from doing things that help the community. So it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, 100%, and that's a common theme, which is totally fine, because it's real. And a lot of the successful attorneys that I get to talk to, it starts with good work, reputation, those referral sources, other lawyers you've maybe worked with or interned for, or whatever it may be, that are there to get you off the ground. And if you do good work, then that'll continue. So, but yeah, then beyond that, what else can you do? How do you get in front of people? There's a lot of different ways, right? So,
Sure.
So yeah, you got to do good work. You have to have good ethics. You have to have integrity, and people will trust you, and that's going to go a long way. Especially you can't beat a referral. You just can't beat a referral. You have to really try to screw that up if you got a referral from a good trusted source. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, so kudos on that.
Oh,
go ahead.
The way I look at it is you just, our business, my business in particular, when someone's in need of a criminal defense lawyer, that's not something that's a discretionary purchase. That's not something like Coca-Cola, where they say, I could go for a Coke. When someone needs a criminal defense lawyer, they're in need of a criminal defense lawyer, and they're going to use some tools to try to find one that they can trust and they can put their faith in. And word of mouth is the best, but it's also important to have a strong presence. I mean, the internet is the beginning and end of marketing right now. And so if you have a strong internet presence and you can get yourself or your page in front of people, that's going to be an advantage for you. And there's just no substitute for exposure. There's no substitute for coming up high in a search, or getting people to your page, because that thing's working 24/7. You may be asleep, and it happens quite often that I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have 2 or 3 or maybe 4 or 5 people that have contacted me overnight. And first thing I do when I get back in the office in the morning is email those people or call those people and see what I can do to help. it's important to be the first one to get them back, because, for everybody that contacts you, I would imagine they probably contacted other lawyers too. So it's just a matter of who's first to get back to them and who makes them feel like they can handle their issue.
100%. Preaching to the choir over here.
These are hard-earned lessons. These are not. I didn't read a book, and I didn't go to school for this. I've just learned this over the period of time that I've been a solo practitioner.
Yeah, and so you made so many good points there. And of course, I own a digital marketing agency. We work for law firms. All the things you just said are exactly how we feel and believe. It's not just, we're not trying to just sell something. It's like, that is it. So yeah, beside the referrals and the reputation, all that stuff, we can't help you with that. But what I always tell folks is, and this may be what I'm selling, maybe, I don't know, but I would say, Andrew, so you believe you're the best person in your area to help someone with this criminal need, right? And you go, yeah, of course.
Of course.
Okay, so if someone was to search, someone needs your help, desperately needs your help, and they go to Google, they go to search, they go to find someone, and you're not there, then they will be going to someone else. So why not be there to intercept? And then you can choose from there if you want to actually help them or not. But, it's, you got to try to flip it. It's like, hey, you want to be in front of people when they're needing your services.
Exactly. It's not something, it's something that is time sensitive. And when people need a criminal lawyer, they are usually pretty stressed out and a little bit overwhelmed. And they need someone who is going to make them feel a little bit more confident about their situation. And that's,
and then the other major point you made was time to response time. There's a lot of statistics out there, like how fast you respond. If you're the first one to respond, you're 50% more likely to get that client. And so from an attorney standpoint, a law firm, I would assume people probably do a lot of inquiries overnight, early in the mornings when things may have happened. And
or
so
people work during the day, and they're at night. That's when they have the chance to look into these things. Yeah. So I make myself available on weekends and evenings as well. All of my advertising from day one has always said evenings and weekends by appointment, because I want to send the message that I'm available and I'm here if they need me. Of course, once they're a client, we have that conversation about what constitutes an emergency and what doesn't constitute an emergency. But that's a different issue. That's client management rather than bringing in clients.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of some of the changes that you're making, you kind of mentioned a little bit where you're trying to go and maybe a different, direction that you've been heading. So give us a little, background on not where you've been, but kind of the next couple of years, where you're kind of going with the firm.
Well, what we're trying to do, and I've been trying to do this for several years, this has been my goal, is to actually take fewer cases. And that sounds counterintuitive to someone who may be a new lawyer. But what I'm talking about when I say that is I stopped messing around with speeding tickets a long time ago. It just got to a point where it just wasn't worth my time anymore to handle those cases. So we have a couple of young lawyers that we work with that we send some smaller cases to, and some less complicated things, and we still hang on to those cases and help out when we need to. But we have other lawyers that handle the day-to-day on those types of cases, and I'm enjoying working on my larger cases. I'm enjoying taking large federal cases or serious felony state cases, and really working those cases in a way that I didn't have the time to before. And also, it goes without saying that those types of cases attract larger fees. And I think it's easier when you've been doing this for a little while, it's easier to look somebody in the eye and say it's going to be, a large amount of money to retain my services for this case. But I've been a much happier person. And I think I'm doing much better work for my clients now that I've sort of limited the number of cases that we're taking and making them bigger cases, more important cases and more complex cases, and giving them the time that they deserve and the attention that they need.
I mean, I think that's excellent. It's you got to do what's best for you, what's best for the firm, and and when you start out, you kind of need anything you can get. Where now you're able to be selective, and work on the things you want to work on, and there's less risk for you to do that versus if you just started.
Your listeners need to know. Your listeners need to know this did not happen overnight. This has been a long process. This has been a lot of hard work. Like I said, a lot of ups and downs. But that's my goal, and we're building towards that.
I love it. So congrats to you on that and that success and that transition. You need to have, your life, I'm sure, will be a lot better for it. And again, you have other folks working with you. So you mentioned another attorney that you're working with that's there till 2 a.m. What's up with that?
Well, the way I work my business is, and this might be interesting to folks that are in my position as a solo. I basically rent a large amount of space here, and I sublease out to 6 other lawyers, and they pay me rent on a monthly basis. And we all work together very, very well. I've been very selective about who I rent to. It's not just anybody off the street. It's people that I know or people that have come with good credentials and good recommendations. And we have all kinds of varied practices, and we of course can share cases among each other. We work on cases together. But the lawyer you're referring to here in Montgomery, it's interesting. Nobody would ever guess it that's not from this area.
Alabama.
In Montgomery, Alabama, we have a very significant Korean population in our community. And the reason for that is because we're the site of the first Hyundai manufacturing plant in the United States. So, we have a sizable Korean community here. If you like Korean food, you're not going to find better Korean food than in Montgomery, Alabama. And I can recommend my favorite Korean restaurant if you need me to offline. But we have one lawyer in our office who is a Korean speaker, native Korean speaker. And she sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes works on Korean time. So she, I have a card game that I host in my office on Tuesday nights during normal times, and we play till 11. And sometimes she's still here when we're leaving. So, it's an interesting. She has a real interesting practice. It's a real nice niche that she has found for herself. She'd be a great person to have on your podcast, actually.
I would love the intro, and we can get her set up. So, so that's super cool. Kind of the situation you have there with the building and how you almost like a co-working space for the attorneys. Super cool. I like that idea.
We have a nice location. We've got good exposure to the street, ample parking. It's easy to give directions here, and
nice.
It's in a prestigious location. We're in a high rent area, so it's by Montgomery standards.
Nice, and then good real estate move and passive income as well. So you're winning twice.
It definitely cuts down on my overhead.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's really cool, man. So I didn't know that about Montgomery, and most people listening may not have either. But it's an
underrated. It's an underrated place.
I've never been there. I don't know if I've ever been to the state of Alabama, actually. But if I'm coming through and I get in trouble, I know who to call potentially, unless it's
if you just want kimchi.
Or if I just want kimchi, I'll just call you up. Or if I want to play a poker game, I just need to know when.
I can get you a seat.
Oh man,
we have a waiting list.
Uh-oh.
I can only hope.
See what I can do.
Unfortunately, the game's off. The game's off indefinitely because of the COVID.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I'm actually supposed to be in Florida, traveling there Sunday. That just got canceled. So
I hate it.
Last minute. But that's the world we live in. But we're here. We're on video. We're on Zoom. You've been doing probably a lot of your work like this, I would assume.
We do Zoom court. I have a jacket and a tie and a shirt that I've been wearing for about 10 months now.
Clip it on and
hanging on my doorknob, and I'm waiting for the day that some judge asks me to stand up because I'm more often than not wearing shorts.
Please rise. Like, this isn't good.
Hasn't happened yet, but one day it will.
Well, Andrew, thanks so much.
I hope that's something that sticks around. Frankly, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I hope that's something that sticks around. I think Zoom court's great.
This is your show, not mine.
Saves us the trouble of all the travel and the wear and tear and on the vehicles, and there's no reason that we can't do more things by remote means. And I hope that's one of the legacies of this time, is that we get more efficient with the way we use our time in that way.
It really is. And, this whole show is always, I have guests from around the country, sometimes the world. So it's really cool. And I've seen such a change in a lot of firms that I talk to, that they're like, wow, we're taking cases in further areas in the state that they're in, or, they're able to do so much more and have so many more meetings and consultations. And so, yeah, it's one of the positive things that have come from this. So
I've said many times, I think it's going to be the next big step, the biggest leap forward in legal practice technology since electronic filing. I think electronic filing was a huge moment. And then this is the next thing that's just going to push efficiency forward in our profession.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Just my opinion.
I think you're right. So Andrew, thanks so much for joining us and sharing what you're up to and your story and where you're going. I think it's a lot of lessons learned on how you're doing things, and now you're in a place where you can decide what you want to do. So check out his website. Reach out to him if you want to. If you want to check out this episode too, right now it's live on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. It'll stay on our YouTube channel. It'll also be on our website. We'll have a dedicated page for Andrew up soon. It'll feature the episode video clip. The audio is going to be up on our podcast very soon. You can listen to it there. And then we'll be featuring some of what Andrew said on our social media over time. So check it out. We'll tag you, Andrew, and your firm. So stay tuned for that. If anyone needs help with digital marketing, that's what we do. We help you get out in front of people, get in the searches. That's all we do. We only work with law firms. So reach out, check us out. Andrew, anything else you want to share before we go this afternoon?
Just, if you're a solo practitioner, hang in there, fight the good fight. Don't give up. There are good days and bad days. I'm lucky. I enjoy 9 days out of 10. But that 10th day is a doozy. But it happens to all of us, and don't give up.
Great tip. 100%. You got to fight through it. And remember, you're a business owner as soon as you decide to go on your own. So take some classes, take some courses, get a mentor, ask questions, find someone like Andrew, call him up and say, hey, what do I do? I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that will be willing to help you. So,
I guarantee I've made the wrong decision at some point, and you can benefit from my bad experience.
I'm sure. All right. Well, everyone, have a good afternoon. Andrew, thanks so much. Stay on for just a second. We'll go backstage, have a chat, and then we'll wrap up. So everyone, see you next time.